Recording? Okay, cool. Fantastic. Okay. So good afternoon, and everybody, good afternoon, you. Okay, so I'm just going to go and share my screen so that you can see the slides as we're going along. So that will make it easier for you to know what I'm talking about. Okie dokie. Yeah, let me know when you've got that up. Goodness, that should be there. Can you see my screen? Yeah, cool, excellent. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Again, I'm really thrilled to share this kind of session on a leadership concept that has the power to transform not only your organizations, but also the individuals who work within them. So today we're going to be diving into the profound impact of purpose-driven leadership. We're just going to okay, so purpose-driven leadership, and how aligning your mission, vision, and values can actually inspire teams, it can improve organizational performance, and it can create a legacy of meaningful impact. I think those are things that people want in business, so we're going to see how purpose actually aligns with that. You see, purpose-driven leadership is not just an abstract concept. It's actually the foundation for success for some of the most kind of admired organization. So that whole idea of leadership and purpose-driven leadership drives some really amazing organizations. And here's the best part. When leaders are leaders like you embody and communicate a clear purpose, it energizes teams, it actually fosters loyalty, and actually is the thing that drives measurable business results. So my mission, or our mission, is to create a welcoming space where leaders are empowered to align their faith, their values, and their ethics with their leadership. So through this alignment, we help leaders to increase their impact, but doing that authentically, and to achieve business success with integrity. And that's whatever industry they operate in and whatever sphere of influence that they may have. So that's what we're all about, and we welcome you. So today, this is what we're going to cover today. And we're going to be looking first at some definitions. I also think it's really important to just get some commonality around mission, vision, and values. And so we're going to do that first of all. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about why or how purpose-driven leadership actually inspires performance and results. We're going to look at some practical strategies for aligning leadership with purpose. So there might be some things that you know already, but it could be a great reminder. And then we're going to give you an opportunity to connect your purpose with your organizational goals with a short interactive activity. And then I'm going to share how you can take a step further with a business faith reset session, and just share some really exciting news about how you can be among the first people to join our new Faith Inspired Leadership Lab membership group. So I'm a leadership coach who's dedicated to helping faith-driven leaders align their talents, their values, and their spiritual gifts so they can create phenomenal business success through faith-inspired leadership practices. So stick around until the end. I've got an amazing offer for you if you're a pioneer ready to be part of an ethical leadership movement. Okay, so let's just start with some definitions. So purpose-driven leadership starts with understanding and aligning three critical components. So for me, it's about mission, vision, and values and how they intertwine. So kind of where I'm coming from, your mission is why your organization exists. It's that kind of raison d'etre. It's the problem that your organization solves, and it's the impact that it creates for your customer base. Vision then is where your organization is headed. It's the kind of aspirational goal that you're working towards. It's kind of like, the future as you'd like it to be. And then values and the principles, they're kind of like the guiding principles, that guide decisions, they guide behaviors, and together they create the culture of your organization. And I think the important thing is when these elements, especially for leaders, but when these elements are clear and consistently communicated, and that's consistently communicated, they provide a powerful compass for decision making and for team engagement. So I think that's the part that we have a responsibility as leaders to do that consistently. And if we use Starbucks as an example, so Howard Schultz, when he was kind of looking at his organization, they went through a whole phase of refocusing the company's mission, and it was to foster a sense of community and connection. And when they kind of did that refocus, it actually reignited staff and employee passion and re-established customer loyalty. And those two things together actually drove some serious growth for the organization as a result. You see, their mission, when we look at it, it isn't just about selling coffee. What they want to do is they want to become that welcoming third place between work and home. So they have something bigger than just the product that they're actually working towards. I hope that kind of makes sense. So just give me a thumbs up or a yay if that makes sense to you. Okay. All right. So in terms of then impact on teams and the organization. So when you, as a leader, consistently aligns your decisions and actions with a shared purpose, the benefits can be quite incredible. So, for instance, you get things like higher engagement. So, when teams are led by purpose driven leaders, they're deemed, according to research, to be some 64% more engaged. So, when leaders are purpose driven, it kind of helps the engagement of their staff. So that's one thing. In terms of trust, employees then are more likely to trust leaders who embody shared values. And what's important here is not just by what they say. We know that old adage, do as I do, not just what I say, but it's through their consistent action that trust kind of builds. And then when it comes to performance, purpose boosts focus and motivation, which together again helps staff and leads to higher productivity. So we're talking about these things, it just reminds me of a time when I worked with a mid-level manager. I'm going to call her Karen for today. Hi, Shamina. I'm going to call her Karen for today. And for a good while, she really struggled to connect her role and what she did every day in the company to her company's purpose. However, once we kind of helped her to kind of really clarify for herself how the work that she did supported the organization's mission, which was to empower small businesses, she became one of the most passionate advocates in her team, which boosted not only her own performance, but it also boosted the morale of the people around her and the people that she was responsible for. So I think it's a really important thing or a good thing to look at, thinking about the role either that you hold or the roles of people in your team. And just think, how could that role link to our organisation vision? And how can people really see what they do makes an impact? So that's just something to think about. Now, those of you who know me, and if you don't, you're going to get to know me. I love statistics, okay? I love statistics because I just think, numbers tell us something. So, very quickly, did you know that according to the Harvard Business Review, 85% of employees say that they feel more engaged when their organisation values align with their own personal values? So personal values, if my organisation that I'm working with has the same or they're aligned, I feel more engaged naturally. And then also, according to Deloitte, purpose-driven companies are 30% more likely to innovate successfully and to experience higher profitability. So 30% uplift just because we are operated according to a purpose. Okay, so when we think about the financial pressures and other pressures facing businesses or business sectors, I think we can safely say that having that personal values that aligns with organizational values is definitely something that warrants a bit more attention. So if you agree with that, just stick a Y in the chat. So if you think personal values and having that understanding of where they fit with organisation values is important, then yes, stick a Y in the chat. Excellent, because I do think if we spend a bit more time thinking about some of those things, I think life could be easier for our organisations and definitely the people in it. Okay, so what I'd like to do, well done, what I'd like to do is I'd just like to, think about what can be done to align mission, vision, and values more closely. So I'm going to share some key strategies. And like I said before, some of them you might think, oh, they're a bit obvious. But sometimes looking at the obvious is what we need to kind of bring it to our attention. So the first one is to define your organization's purpose, but to do that clearly. And this is about having a mission and a vision that's specific. So it does something, but it's also something that's inspiring so that many people can look at it and go, okay, that makes sense to me. So inspiring, but also specific. So I have an example. This is a company called Patagonia. I don't know if you know Patagonia, but it's an American company that designs and sells outdoor clothing and gear. Now, their mission is not just about the gear. It's actually their mission is we're in business to save our home planet. I just think that's like crazy massive. But their mission is clear, but it's a really dynamic one that people can get hold of in lots of different ways. So that's the first one. The second one is to communicate with consistency and authenticity. And so one way we could do that is to make storytelling a thing that happens in your organization. So tell stories that actually demonstrate how decisions align with values, and then that will help you to reinforce regularly the importance of mission, vision, and values, but also purpose in your organization. And you can tell those stories in team meetings, one-to-one meetings, PDR meetings, where you're sitting down and thinking about, well, how does, tell stories about how these actually link together so people can grasp it in a real way. Number 3 is to model the organisation's values daily. So we all know that actions speak louder than words. So leaders who consistently demonstrate their values, especially in those kind of challenging situations or in those kind of uncertain circumstances, that actually builds trust. So an example of this, I think lots of examples came out of the pandemic, but where some companies actually prioritized employee health over profits, that was like a big thing. And in doing that, they earned the respect and the long-term loyalty, not only of their staff, but also their customer base. So when they could prove that they put employee health, a bit like what you were saying, putting that fairness in place, when they did that, they actually enhanced long-term respect and loyalty. Number 4, it's about empower teams to own the vision of the organization. I think people think about that, but you can actually achieve this by just involving staff in discussions about how their roles contribute to the larger purpose. And encourage a bit of competition maybe about how do I show up? How does what I do relate directly to the purpose that I know? But also I think of an even bigger thing is about actually how you can catch people doing things right. So encourage initiative when it's displayed and recognise staff effort when it aligns, particularly when it aligns with organisational mission. So those are things that you can do. And then finally, number 5, which is to reassess and realign the mission, vision, and values regularly. Now, organisations evolve, and so it makes sense that their mission and their vision should evolve too. Oftentimes, they get bigger over time. They want to have more impact. They want to make more of a difference. They want to reach more people. So make a point of periodically revisiting your strategy and ensure that all these things are in alignment ongoingly. So they're just 5 things that you can do, just to keep that mission, vision, and values uppermost. Okay, does that make sense? Is that useful? Yeah, just kind of, it's like, oh, kind of makes sense. There might be some things you're doing in there already, and other things you think, that's just a bit of a memory jog. Okay, so this is now your turn. Okay, so this is now I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Okay, so it's your turn to turn the focus on you and with a quick activity. So what you want to do is want to look at how your leadership purpose aligns with your organisation's mission, vision and values. Now this exercise is called purpose mapping, and it's just going to help you to gain some clarity about your own values and provides an opportunity just to focus on the mission, vision and values of your organisation for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the whole activity, and then we can tackle one piece at a time. So this is kind of where you get your fingers even more ready, okay? So the first bit is to think about and write down your personal leadership purpose. And you can do this using the following prompts. So why do I lead? What values drive me? And what is the legacy that I want to create? So why do I lead? What values drives me? And what is the legacy that I want to create? So you'll have a couple of minutes to do that. But like I said, it's a really quick exercise. So you can take a deeper dive into all of this after the session if you want to come back to it. So we're just going to get your brain thinking very quickly for now. So the second thing we're going to look at then is around this whole organizational alignment, and you'll have a few minutes for that. So I'd like you to reflect on or think about your organization's mission, vision and values. What are the key ones? And then note down how your leadership purpose connects with the organization's goals. So that's a bit of a reflection piece. And then finally, and point 3 then, and you'll have a couple of minutes to do this one, is just to list down 2 or 3 actions that you can take to help align your leadership purpose with your organisation more closely. So we can always do that a little bit more. So what is the more that we could do to make sure that alignment is really close? Okay, so they're the 3 questions. So as you think through them, if you could kind of type as you think in the chat, that'd be great. Then we could kind of share the experience, because I was sitting there going, are they thinking or not? So if you could do that, that'd be great. And then we can just see what your thoughts are as you come through. So the first one would be to write down your personal leadership purpose. So why do I lead? What drives me? Values drive me, and what's the legacy that I want to create? So if you could have some of those thoughts, that would be great. In the chat, so we can see what you're thinking. So I'm hoping that you're still with us. So I'll wait a few minutes to see what comes out of there, and then obviously we can move on. So why do you lead? What drives you? And what's the legacy you want to create? So if I just think about myself for a moment, why do I lead? Often because I can see things that are not being done, and I want to bring people together to achieve an outcome. So, or other people aren't stepping into the leadership position, so I'll jump in to make things go a bit more smoother. So that would be why I do it. What values drive me? It's kind of doing things right, making a difference drives me. And the legacy I want to leave is, that I've been here, that there's something that sustains beyond me, that continues working beyond me. Okay, no problem. So let's see what Pete's got. To support my staff. So fairness, so drives you is that supporting of staff, which I think is lovely. And I love the way that fairness and developing others is there to create higher levels of skills and behaviour. So leaving a real legacy behind you is fantastic. So I know, Samina's, you've got to drop off, so I get that. But thank you, and just listening later on. So thank you for being here. That's great. Okay, cool. So we're going to continue. So carry on then. So number 2. So thanks for that, Peter. So reflecting on your organisation's mission, vision, and values. Then, what are the key ones in your organisation? So is it even if it's your organisation, it's what's key for you. If you work for an organisation, what's their key one? Okay. So what's the key mission, vision, and values for the organisation? And then how does your leadership purpose connect with that goal? So so that's the thought. Again, if you could stick that in the chat. And as you're thinking about that, I'm thinking about mine. So the kind of mission that we have is to kind of create a movement of ethical leaders so that business can be done well, that we can achieve amazing results, but do things ethically. And that actually more people have a great experience in the workplace. That's the kind of mission that we have. And I guess part of it is supporting people that I lead to kind of do that, but also how do I show up myself? So put my staff first and support them in every way. I mean, again, that's kind of great in terms of people first. People are our kind of greatest assets. So they're first, and support them in any way, which would be either, you know, supporting their development, giving them advice, coaching, supporting, all of that I take would mean in how you support them. So that's great. And then the final one then is to note down 2 or 3 actions that you can take that's going to help you to align your purpose with your organization more closely. So I don't know if you can think of 2 or 3 things that you could do to help you to align those 3 more deeply within your organization. Love that one. So it is about giving people time. So meet regular, be the face of the organization, but see people regularly engage with them. That would definitely make your availability and make a difference. So I do love that. That's fantastic. Okay, cool. So I really like that. So one last thing then. So it's just like, you know, thinking back about just the thoughts of the activity. So just going through that purpose mapping, you know, what was kind of an insight or a key takeaway that you've got from this? Yeah, that's a key takeaway or a key insight that you can take away from this activity. So if you can think about that, that'd be great. And then there's a worksheet that you can use later on if you want to reflect on today's session. And there's a link there that you could just tap into, and that will open that up. And also we'll talk about what you're going to get afterwards. That's great. So what would be to do it regularly? So yeah, so that whole reminder, sometimes we just kind of think it's a one-off thing, but not necessarily. Do it regularly is what makes a difference. So fantastic. Okay, cool. Okay, so just a question then, just to kind of, you know, as we move on and move to wrapping up, you know, so how aligned is your leadership with your organization's mission, values, and vision? And what would it take to elevate your influence and impact even further? So we've got some ideas about doing things regularly, meeting regularly with the staff, you know, being available to them. But what would it take to elevate the level of influence and impact that you have even more? So if this kind of conversation that we've had around purpose-driven leadership and the importance of mission values and that alignment, if it's piqued your attention even a little bit, then I invite you to take it further with a business faith reset session. Now, this is a personalised, complimentary 40-minute session that's designed to help you to reconnect with your leadership, you know, your leadership with your faith, with the values and your business mission, to identify areas of misalignment or drift and how you can course correct, and to discover some practical strategies to lead with authenticity, clarity, and trust, and to do that more deeply. So yeah. Okay, cool. So what I would say though is there's a QR code on the screen, so you can book a session so we can talk about that. And literally it's a space for just focused reflection, honest assessment, and next step planning to kind of help you, particularly as a leader. So it helps you to analyze your leadership approach, clarify where you want to lead from and towards what, and strengthens your capacity to lead with purpose and at peace. So I always say, you know, don't wait until misalignment leads to burnout or blurred vision. Take a proactive step now to become the kind of leader that you want to be, someone who, you know, inspires trust, models integrity, and drives success. So spaces are limited, but I look forward to walking alongside you to do the things in your leadership to reset, realign, and lead with bold faith. Okay, so just as we finish, I just want to just go through a couple of the takeaways. So today, we talked about how purpose-driven leadership is about aligning those 3 things. And we do that in order to inspire your team and organization to reach their full potential. But like by leading with purpose, you're not only achieving extraordinary results, but you are actually leaving a positive and lasting legacy, which is really important. So there are the three takeaways. So purpose-driven leadership is about building trust, engagement, and innovation. It's a way to boost morale and results. But I think the most important thing is empowered leaders inspire others to embrace and fulfill the organization's mission, vision, and values, and to live it out on a daily basis. And I think that's what we do when we model that. So any thoughts that you've got, feel free just to share your thoughts and reflections and any additional questions you may have in the chat. So yeah, just put those on there, that would be great. And then I just want to, as we close out, I just want to thank you for joining me. I want you to remember that when we as leaders align those three things, we actually create clarity, inspire trust, and drive business impact, both for personal growth, but also for organizational success. Now, feel free again just to drop in reflections in the chat or to reach out to me directly, because I'd love to hear your thoughts about today's session and how that's resonated with you. But just a very quick one before we close. Finding ways to broaden connection and continue this journey of purpose-driven leadership is something that I'm really excited about. And so that's why I'd love to invite you personally to join the Faith-Inspired Leadership membership group, which is a growing community of purpose-driven leaders who are committed to leading with integrity, leading with clarity, and bold faith. So inside the group, you'll find exclusive resources, real-time discussions, live sessions with an opportunity to network with like-minded leaders who truly understand that call to lead with purpose and conviction. And because we're still in the very early stages, founder members are going to receive special early access bonuses, including reduced pricing, first look at our content before it goes out, and extra opportunities to kind of shape the direction of the group. So that might be something you're interested in. So if that's something you think, you know what, I might want to be part of that, then drop a yes in the chat or send me a quick DM on LinkedIn, and I'll make sure you just get the details and access to join. So it's just a discussion around, actually, that sounds interesting, so let me know about that. So for me, it's let's build something powerful together, because leadership is better done in community. So there's a worksheet. So there's a link in there that you can get the worksheet for today, but there's also going to be a worksheet that accompanies today's session, and we're going to be emailing that out to you soon. So please look out for that. I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes if you've got any further questions. So once I finish the recording, I'll stick around. Otherwise, I'll look forward to those of you who have booked into the business faith reset session with me. So until next time, stay blessed. Stay blessed. Look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next time. So I'm just going to stop the share, and I'm going to